What did prosecutors do wrong? Let's ask Bob Massey. He's our Fox News legal analyst, and Nicole DeBoard, a defense attorney and former prosecutor. Good to see both of you.
Good morning.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Thank you. You know, before we get to what did they do right or wrong, I want to go with this news that Jonathan Sari just reported on, and that, Bob, I'll start with you on this one. The idea that the NAACP and I believe the Rainbow Push Coalition on the same accord urging the Justice Department to pursue civil rights charges against George Zimmerman. Legally, how far might those efforts go?
Pretty tough to get, because it's either a 1983 action, civil rights action, or it would be some type of hate crime, and the threshold for both of those are very, very high. So if, in fact, the pressure is being put on, and if it happens, and I think, as in this case, you have to look into the political influence these organizations have.
Nicole?
I agree. I think it's going to be very difficult for them to succeed with something like that. I mean, this has been an excellent example of what happens when the evidence is taken care of methodically in front of a jury without outside influence. And I think that the same result could be expected in another courtroom in a different venue. So I think it would be very difficult at best.
Nicole, I'll stay with you. And based on the evidence and the testimony presented throughout the trial, was not guilty the verdict you expected?
It actually was the verdict that I was expecting. The defense did a really good job of going through point by point and addressing the forensic evidence in the case. And it is a fact. The defense said that they proved their client not guilty. And really what I think that means is that they were the ones that handled the evidence in the most methodical way so that the jurors could see how the evidence related to the law. And I think that's what happened here.
Bob, your take on that?
Yeah, you know, one thing I know from my own trial experience in the civil side and covering these cases is, honestly, when we finally hear from the jury, I will guarantee you, and I think Nicole will agree with me on this, they pick on things that lawyers never figure out when you're trying a case. They may come up with something that's so off the wall that sometimes, by the way, is not legally sound. But saying that, look, you can't change the facts of this case. It's a devastating case for everybody. How many people have we said? We all said there's no winners involved. But when you take the facts of the case and the law that was given to them, these prosecutors, albeit they were special prosecutors and terrific lawyers, when the facts are the facts, it's very difficult to get a case like this beyond a reasonable doubt. And I think those of us who watched the case, although you never want to second guess, wasn't really surprised.
So, Bob, in answering my first question I had for you, you mentioned political influence. So what do you make of the charge that politics drove this case to the courtroom?
Look, my concern for this whole thing that's happened, even some of the outbreaks that we've seen, is that there's a sense of reverence for this system, whether we like it or not. When you have a police department who investigated, and you have a district attorney's office who investigated, and they made a decision, excuse me, that the evidence just is not there. Because remember, most of the time, if they're going to prosecute, they don't prosecute for probable cause, they prosecute for conviction. They looked at this, and then we had, you know, the civil rights movement. I understand. I mean, I get this. We all get the fact that this is a problem in our country. But you have to respect the independence of the offices, that they made a decision and then they step in. And to be very candid with you, as bad as it may have been that if they wouldn't have prosecuted, now even when they did prosecute and put it in front of jury, it still isn't enough. I don't know what will ever make the civil rights leaders, and I say that respectfully, ever satisfied unless there's a conviction. And that is not the way the system works.
So, Nicole, if politics were a driving force behind this George Zimmerman trial, would that lead you to call for changes in the justice system?
Well, no, because in this and in this case, the evidence and to analyze it, and the jurors in the end decided that there was not enough evidence to find this gentleman guilty beyond a reasonable doubt.
And Bob, what would you say was the most effective move for defense?
I think all of us, when the 4-minute lapse happened, and you just sat there for 4 minutes, and this opportunity to retreat that they argued that Trayvon Martin could have just run away from the situation was very, very important, because then it shows that really what happened in that 4 minutes, yeah, that was very effective. And to be very honest with you, again, when you get back to the facts of the case, it's very sad that the person the other person is gone. And they've had a hurdle that was very difficult, and many times prosecutors overcharge. And maybe, and I don't know, because look, man, I'm not in their game, you know, so I don't know, but maybe they would have been better by just charging with a manslaughter case, trying the case as a manslaughter case, leave the murder two gone, and just go try it as a manslaughter case. And maybe the evidence would have come in differently. Maybe there could have been a different result. But you know what? When you argue murder two on opening statement, and on closing statement you're arguing lesser included, you know, those people aren't stupid on the jury. They're not stupid. They figured it out.